Hi, this is Walter Montero, and you're listening to this week's edition of the Real Estate and Mortgage Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's edition of the Real Estate and Mortgage Show. Kind of excited about this week's episode because I'm going to be talking about how to buy a home with no down payment. I know a lot of people think that program went by the wayside a little while ago when there was all kinds of changes to the mortgage rules, and by all rights, it actually did. So the 100% insured loan by CMHC is no longer around. But what you can do is you can get a mortgage for 95% of the value of the property that you're buying, and then you can get a 5% cash back on that particular mortgage. Okay, so it's not quite 100% financing, but it's pretty darn close. Okay, so you can still buy a home with no money down in essence. All right, now there are 6 caveats to that program that I want to go over with you so that you know whether you qualify for the no down payment program or not. So, caveat number 1 is that you need to have a credit score of 680 or higher. So both people in the transaction have to have they call a beacon score of 680 points or higher. All right. Now, I just want to explain that a little bit because sometimes we see people with high credit scores and they still have maybe late payments on their credit bureau. That's not going to work. You have to have nice clean credit with beacon scores above 680, and you need 2 active trade lines. Okay, and by that I mean you have to have an ongoing credit card that you use and you service, or some sort of car loan or RSP loan, that sort of thing. And you've got to show that you're able to sustain those payments and you have a history of making those payments on time. Okay, so that's caveat number 1. Caveat number 2 is that you have to have a positive net worth. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, what that means is that your assets, the value of your assets, has to exceed the value of your liabilities. Okay, so in other words, your loans cannot be of higher value than the assets that you own. Okay, so they don't want to see that. If that's the situation, then you're more than likely not going to qualify for the program. So you have to have a positive net worth. Caveat number 3 is you can never have declared bankruptcy or have gone through a credit proposal. All right. So if you've ever had any of those challenges in the past, you do not qualify for the no down payment program or the 5% cashback program. Okay. Caveat number 4 is you need to have stable income. Okay. Ideally, the lenders look for 2 years of steady employment on the same job. Okay, or at least in the same field. Okay, where you're highly employable. All right. We have had situations where somebody hasn't had the same job for the last 2 years, but because they came from a stable trade, that they were highly employable and they were working again, then obviously the lender was very comfortable with that. But 2 years on the job, very, very important. Okay, stable income. Caveat number 5 is you have to have your own closing costs from your own resources. Okay, so in other words, they cannot be gifted, it can't be borrowed. You have to have the money to be able to close the deal. That means being able to pay the lawyer, be able to pay your land transfer tax, and basically what the lenders look for in that is typically 1.5% of the purchase price of the home that you are buying. Okay. Now the funny thing is in Ontario, you're entitled as first-time home buyers to a $2,000 rebate on your land transfer tax. Okay. Now, even though you get that, you still need to have your closing costs from your own resources. Don't ask me why, but that's just the way the program works. Okay? And caveat number 6 is that it has to be an owner occupied situation. Okay? If it isn't owner occupied, then obviously you wouldn't qualify for the 5% down. Okay, so it has to be an owner occupied property and with the 5%, which of course is the equivalent to the value of the cashback. So just to give you a quick overview of that program again, just very quickly, number 1 is credit score, 680 beacon score or higher. Number 2 is positive net worth. Number 3 is no past bankrupts or credit proposals. Number 4 is steady employment, at least 2 years on the job. Number 5 is you have to have your own closing costs equivalent to 1.5% of the purchase price. And number 6, it has to be an owner occupied property. All right. And if you think that you'd be interested or know somebody that would be interested in this program, what I would suggest is you go to our website, which is homepreapproval.com. That will take you directly to our mortgage application. Fill out our mortgage application online, click submit, and my wife Karen will get back to you with regards to whether you qualify for the program. And then if you do, she'll put you in contact with me and I will help you find a home. All right. If you have any questions that you'd like to call into the office, you can reach us at 519-624-9222. Mortgage questions for Karen, real estate questions for me, and emails are walter@maximumresults.ca and Karen@maximumresults.ca. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of the Real Estate and Mortgage Show. If you have any real estate questions, please direct them to me at 519-624-9222 or walter@maximumresults.ca, or you can find me online at www.cambridgehouses.com. If your interests are in mortgages, please feel free to call 519-624-9222 or email Karen at karen@maximumresults.ca, or you can find her online at www.m as in Mary, R as in Roger, financial.ca. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you have a great week.